welcome to 600 Seconds with Sam. I'm here today with Alan Adams from Horizons. Welcome, Alan. Hello.
Hi.
Alan's here hoping to get his message across and tell me a little bit about himself. Alan, tell me about Horizons and how did you get here?
Started quite a while ago actually. I'll try and make it the really sort of short, concise version. I was in the Royal Navy during the Cold War. I was on nuclear subs. Left that, stayed in engineering until I was 30. And then I went to university, did an international disaster engineering and management degree. I don't know, people are thinking out there, probably thinking Thunderbirds, and how I did. I was expecting Tracy Island. Unfortunately it's Coventry, not that there's anything wrong with Coventry, but I was a little bit disappointed it wasn't Tracy Island. But the degree covered quite a few wide areas, covered famine aid and refugees, that sort of stuff, but it covered also crisis and issues management for large corporations and businesses. And that's when I got a real sort of lifelong passion for business. So I started attending events, studying anything to do with business, anything to do with business success, qualified as a life coach, qualified as a business coach. I did an NLP practitioner, then went on to do masters. Off the back of that, I've been interviewing some of the country's sort of leading business figures. So I've interviewed Richard Reed of Innocent Drinks, Steve Smith of Poundland, Peter Dunn of Peninsula. I've also interviewed a lot of people who build lifestyle businesses. So these are businesses they can walk away from and the business keeps on going without them. And I'm looking for the psychology of success. So that will be one of my future books, because I've got to write a thesis to sort of pull that all together. I've written 3 books: Survive to Thrive, Passion to Profit, and The Beautiful Business. The last one was specifically for clinics. I've got a UK Top 50 Advisor Award, and I was up for Coach of the Year for finalists last year. So it's been quite an adventure.
Wow. Wow. So did you have an epiphany, a moment where you thought, oh, I need to be doing that?
It came about. I'd always enjoyed the engineering side of stuff, and it was the continuous learning. And anyone who's in engineering and good at it, they constantly want to go on courses and stuff. And I suppose I got to my late 20s, and it just wasn't cutting it anymore. And I didn't want to go into sort of management and engineering. And that's when I sort of started searching for what I really wanted to do. And I suppose I split up with my partner, and I was sort of kicking my heels a little bit, and then the degree sort of plopped in front of me. Somebody who'd been travelling for a year, they'd worked in the factory I was at, and they came along and said, oh, I'm going to go and do this degree. I thought, that sounds fantastic. So I just went for a look, and while I was there, they offered me a place. So literally I had 6 weeks to sort of jack my job in and find a place in Coventry. And it was very, very scary at the time, but the best decision I ever made, and that was sort of really the tipping point. And it was scary, and I think everything that I've ever done that's been scary has always turned out to be a good thing.
That's very telling, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, fear stops them from doing things.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a whole nother session. Okay, so if you could go back in time and you could speak to a younger version of yourself, how old would you be and what do you think you'd say?
I don't think I'd actually go and speak to you because it would change things. And for me personally, the journey I've been on, I had to go on, and where I am now is actually really good. So, you know, if there was somebody in my same circumstances as me, I'd probably go back to when I was 22 and say, look, she's a nutter, they don't get better. And I think, you know, expecting people to change is quite a young, immature thing, and they don't. People just tend to get the same or worse. So that would probably be the only thing I'd go back. But I wouldn't do it to myself because that was an interesting journey.
Very wise, I like that. Okay, so what's coming up for Alan and what's coming up for Horizons? What are you working on?
So what I'm currently working on, I've niched down into clinics.
Oh, tell me about clinics.
Which is the final. So it's aesthetic, medical, cosmetic. And the only reason I've done this is because I've worked with a real variety of industries as a coach, business coach. Because obviously my speciality is sort of growth, sales, it's the overall strategy. But you've got to have an awareness as well what's going on with the business, because some businesses that maybe their pricing or how they're doing things, that just if you gave them more business, they'd just end up growing broke, which is not the way to be. So you have an awareness of everything that's going on. And so I niched into clinics because, especially with B2B, I've always said you've got a niche. So, and it was a bit of a sort of challenge to myself because I'm doing quite well, but I thought, right, I'm going to show people that this works. So I've gone into a specific sector, and the reason I chose clinics is because they tend to be lovely people. They're ex-nurses, ex-doctors. They're really nice, and that was the only reason that I chose that area. And I really enjoy working with them. You can have quite a big impact quite quickly. So I've niched into clinics. I've currently still ongoing with the interviews on the psychology side of things. That will end up being a book at some point. And I'm also looking at writing another book right now along because I've developed a program called Depth. So the big thing for me is giving people rails to run on. And when people are making business plans, what they forget about is their lifestyle, what they actually want to achieve personally. So depth is about the D's for destination, but it's your lifestyle. It's where you want to live, what you want to do, how many weeks off you want, and all this sort of stuff. And it just gives people something to aim for, because it's pointless having a business plan that you end up working 100 hours a week. And I've seen people do that. Yeah. So ease the exploration, because for many people they don't understand all of their options to push the business forward. And I always talk about Scott the Antarctic and Edmondson, Edmondson was the first man to the South Pole. Obviously Scott was right behind him because they set off at exactly the same time. And and obviously Edmondson got back to the day he planned to get back on. So he was very successful. And Scott and his men died 10 miles short of the primary depot after. It was a Herculean effort, but Scott didn't understand his options properly. If he'd have understood those options properly, he wouldn't have done what he did. So, and this is for business owners as well. So you've got to understand your marketing, your sales process, your operations, your admin and HR. You've got to have enough of an understanding, so that because there are plenty of people out there that will do a terrible job for you. But if you understand what questions to ask and what's supposed to be going on in those areas, that's where you sort of business success. But so once you've got an understanding of everything, then you can develop the plan. Because it's a bit like if I dragged somebody back sort of from the 1600s and brought them here now and said, right, you've got to get to Glasgow as fast as you can, he'd look for a really fast horse. He doesn't know about the planes, trains and automobiles. So it's that kind of thing, and especially business owners tend to be really, really good at what they do, but that doesn't mean that they're really good at running a business, because they've never done it and they've never been educated in doing it. So it's all about education and implementation. The T is for tactics and the H is for health, because you've got certain numbers within your business that you need to watch to make sure everything's on track. And it'll probably be different for every business, but it's about keeping it as simple as possible, because most business owners, we just like simple.
Fantastic. So who would be your ideal customer? Is there such a thing in your world?
My avatar, as far as clinics go, typically they're nurses or doctors. They're sort of 35 plus, maybe 35 to sort of 50. They've started running a business. They've probably got themselves to sort of £100,000 turnover plus, and they've hit a bit of a ceiling. And you get this, a lot of people get themselves to a certain level and then they can't seem to punch through it. And normally when people come and see me, not always, they're normally in some sort of pain. And it gets to a position where right, I need to do something, or I just need to quit. And this is what happens with businesses. A lot of businesses they go out of business, and I think it's like you lose 80% the first 5 years, and of the 20% that survive, you lose 80% the next 5. Most of those businesses are good businesses, but the business owner is sick and tired of working. That they lose the passion for the business. It just becomes a chore. That if they've got staff, they're not. If you look at what they're earning, they're not the highest hourly paid person in the business, because the staff are doing 40 hours, they're doing 80. And they just become sick and tired. And I've sat there with people who've said, if it doesn't change this year, I'm just going to go and get a job. I'll have more time, less stress, more time with family. And that's one of the sort of big things. So normally they're in pain, not always. And then it's just about, because I give away loads of free stuff. If you go to my website, there's alanesadams.com. You can get access to a free workshop.
Great.
So it's literally just it gives. People don't know what they don't know, so I just give loads away. And then because if people like what I do, then they'll contact me.
Yes.
That's the way I work. So
indeed. Yes, I have the same principle myself. Fantastic. So apart from alanesadams.com, How else can people get into contact with you?
If you're a clinic, as in medical aesthetic, cosmetic, or even dentistry, I've had a dental client come through. It's thetopcliniccoach.com.
Oh, so thetopcliniccoach.com.
And for those of you who think I'm bragging, thecliniccoach.com, which is what I went for, is taken by somebody in Australia, but they're not using it. And when I contacted them and said, "Oh, would you like to sell it?" they said $30,000.
Oh!
So I said, "Oh, okay." So I put the in front of it for £7, which was considerably cheaper.
I love it. I love it. Brilliant. And if people wanted to give you a ring or email you?
Yeah, I mean, the easy thing, just go onto the website. There's contact forms, there's email addresses. If you go on my blog, there's loads of information in there. And a lot of the time, I talk to people and I try and point them towards my blog and stuff because there's so much. I'm always producing something. So.
Yeah, so their answers that they might be seeking might be there, right there already.
Yeah, it's like even the niche and stuff. You know, if you look at how I've positioned the Clinic Coach with the book and the downloads and the stuff I give away, and like I'm very active on social media. Mm-hmm. It's all designed to show people what when I talk about niche. And if you're B2B, it's easy. You can go on LinkedIn, you can see the people you want to talk to, and it's just about contacting them in an unusual way, just so you stand out.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Alan.
No,
I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been here in the where are we? We're in the Shropshire Chamber of Commerce building in Telford. So that was Alan Adams from Horizons, and he was getting his message across with me, 600 Seconds with Sam. If you've enjoyed this interview, then please do have a look at some of the others on this YouTube channel. Cheers!